This is Autumn coming to you actually from a special place today. And spent my afternoon, actually took the day off, and I spent in Orlando with a really good friend of mine, Jeannie. So I'm actually doing this from her computer. She was nice to let me use it before it gets any later so I can actually get this up on a Wednesday. I apologize for missing everyone last week. I just unfortunately just had a lot of personal stuff I had to take care of, and I meant to do the video and I had it planned out. I just unfortunately just did not have the time. But thankfully that week's done and gone by. This week's much better and it's a lot less stressful. And it's a good week so far. It's a really good week, actually. I spent the whole day with Jeannie, and she's a really good friend, and she's been such a huge help in my transition I can't even begin to describe. Yeah, let's get right on to this week's topics, which actually comes from Alice, and let me see here, I gotta look this up. Okay, her question is, what are you most proud of in your life thus far? What accomplishments have you made, and what kind of effects do you think they have made on your future? And this could be either trans or non-trans related. I know we're trying to bring up the topic. For me, most of mine, I think, would be trans-related, quite honestly. If I had to say accomplishments before transition, there weren't that many. What can I really say? Graduating high school? I mean, yeah, that's really impressive. No, you know what? That's not true. I did actually have a couple of things I was proud of when I was doing art. I was actually... Let's see, in 12th grade, I was actually taking art portfolio classes, and art was actually my first major until I got into college, and thankfully I had a good couple of teachers that squashed that dream right out of me, so thanks guys, really appreciate you steering me away from that career. But in high school I was hugely into art, and so my last year I was actually able to do a couple of long-term projects, and actually one of them was I made a life-size clay bust of my best friend of mine, Dawn. And it's kind of funny because Dawn during high school had this really long, sort of like curly hair, and like a full beard, so he kind of looked like the stereotypical image of Christ, so I ended up naming the piece The Passion of the Dawn. This is also 2004, so the movie was like really relevant at the time, The Passion of the Christ. What else? I mean, that was probably my biggest thing, just because I'd never done anything like that before. So, you know, that was kind of cool to do. That was definitely different. And other than that, I took a couple of years in Latin in high school, actually, and while I never made straight A's, unfortunately, in class, it was a difficult class, I actually placed first in regional competition, actually, for model making. I made a Lorica segmentata that was life-size and fully functional and wearable, for the most part. So I'd probably say those were some of my two biggest accomplishments, as far as, like, extracurricular type stuff. I would say, if I had to be technical, I mean, obviously the birth of my daughter would be a great accomplishment, but I don't know if I could consider that an accomplishment of how we're, like, thinking of accomplishments now. That just seems to transcend the very sort of idea, so I'm going to leave that one out of that just because it's too much. It's like, it's too obvious, you know, the things that I'm proud of before or after transition. No, honestly, not too much. It was high school and then a bunch of really sad, depressing years. And then finally now, and I think I've had more sort of little personal accomplishments in the last 6 months than I have the entirety of my life before. You know, starting hormones, or even before that, getting into a therapist, and then starting hormones ahead of schedule behind that. That was a great accomplishment for me. Let's see what else. When I told myself before I was going to start hormones, actually, I said I was going to give myself pretty much a full year before I would come out of work. And instead of a year on hormones, it was 1 month that I just had to tell. And we had a meeting with HR. I told my manager she was fine with it. She and I had a meeting with HR, and HR was perfectly great with it, and they put all the power in my hands, and I transitioned without a hitch. They just made it a non-issue, and I made it a non-issue, and I just kind of went forward, and that was that. So, I mean, there are a lot of things in transition that have really either exceeded my expectations or my ability to do something, or with time frame that, you know, definitely big accomplishment. I'm quite happy with the progress that I've made, not only the effects of the hormones, which isn't something that I did, but really working hard to change my diet, my way of thinking, of getting away from the, at least for the most part, the no, I can't, being more forward and confident in myself, and but like really honestly confident as opposed to like a fake bravado. That's definitely big. God, there's so many like small ones. Just waking up and knowing that I can throw on eyeliner and, you know, some mascara and walk out the door, and feel like it's enough. You know what I mean? Like, it's so odd to think that, you know, you come from a point where, of course, I was gendered as male because of, of the condition itself, of course, of being technically male for all intents and purposes, to starting hormones and then now where it's like, I doubt, unless I like seriously was able to lower my voice, and I honestly can't, it's a joke to begin with, I don't think at this point I could walk out and be gendered as a guy. I'm, God, I can't even describe how like thankful I am to just 6 months of my life that completely changed for me. And, you know, I was so worried before that I would never reach anything remotely close to that. And here I am, and I'm really just a quarter of my way through, to see the full effects of changes on my face and body. So, like I said, most of my accomplishments have been trans-related, and, you know, I really think this would be a better question for me 5 years from now, because I imagine I would have a lot more accomplishments from the confidence I gained myself that aren't necessarily trans-related, but were enabled because of my transition. So yeah, so I think that's it for this week. I can't really think of anything much else. But it was good being on this week. And I will see you guys sometime next week. Bye.